3:02. So
you're way too late, man.
I'm like, yeah, it's just been back to back today. Howdy. Let's see. Today is April 1st, 2025, April Fool's Day. And you are at EDU Endpoint Office Hours. So thanks for joining us today. We have a ton to cover. I'm going to share my screen here just a second. It is an open Q&A day, but we have a lot to talk about too. So we'll just kind of go through some of these things. But before I progress too far, just wanted to do a quick call out, a note on additional AIs in meetings. So if you are using an AI solution in your environment to record Teams meetings as like a separate participant that joins the calls or whatever, I ask you to not bring that to this call because that is against our Microsoft privacy terms. So I think we had an incident last week and just want to call it out so that everyone is aware that those are not allowed. If we see it again, we'll have to just quickly remove them from the meeting. But we like our jobs, so play nice, and we appreciate it. Let's see, in 2 weeks, as far as upcoming sessions on April 15th, tax day. I'm like, how are we getting April Fools? And then tax day is just, it just so happens that we meet together as a community on these fun days. We are going to have the Office product group come in and talk to us about updates to the Apps Admin Center, do a little bit of a deep dive into it, and share some best practices for deploying Office. I cannot tell you the amount of questions that I've had probably in the past 2 weeks about deploying Office. And I thought it was a pretty surefire way of deploying Office, and most people knew what to do. But there are still lots of questions, so we thought, what a great topic to bring to Office Hours. So really excited to have the product group come and talk to us. This is the group that is specific to deployment and management of Office ongoing. So if you're not familiar with the Apps Admin Center, you can get to it at config.office.com. We're going to go through a whole deep dive with them, and they are going to look and ask you for specific feedback on education. How can they further enhance the solution for education customers in particular? They want to make this kind of a regular series. So we're excited that they're interested in joining us. So when they come, participate, be nice, be excited, be gracious, and thankful for the work that they do because they are awesome. I feel like I'm talking to my kids, like picking you up, like you will use your manners. I'm just kidding. I don't think I feel that way. April 29th, we also are going to have a session on Windows 365 Link. Stay tuned to some announcements this week on this. If you haven't seen Windows 365 Link, it is a first-party device meant to boot directly into a cloud PC with Windows 365. And there's some announcements coming with that later this week. It was announced at Ignite, I believe, in November. So we're trying to get a deep dive session on that. As always, the call for presenters form link still exists. We still want you to submit your ideas, or if you want to come speak to the group about what you're doing in your environment, anything amazing and awesome that you're doing, or just best practices and tips and tricks. We'd love for you to all participate.
One thing, Garrett, we based on what was announced yesterday, we may change April 29th.
Okay.
It may not be.
We haven't talked about that, but okay.
Haven't, but this is all late breaking news. So
breaking news. We're on the fly.
We change things on the fly.
That's why at least I say tentative, right? So don't get your hopes up. We can always push it back.
Yeah. We got some things to talk about.
We got some things to talk about. Okay, if you haven't heard, Microsoft Secure is a digital event, kind of like Technical Takeoff with Intune, but this is all-encompassing of the Microsoft Security stack, which Intune has a part to play there. And so next week, April 9th, we are doing a full-day broadcast of some sessions with our top security leadership and some other sessions that you might find interesting. So you can get to that at register.secure.microsoft and participate all day long. All right. Jesse, is Windows 365 Link just a glorified thin client? No, kind of. We should save that for the topic. Yeah, it kind of is, but it's cool.
Yeah, it is a thin client.
Yep. Okay, I am going to, I think I got some good feedback on this last time, so I'm going to kill the slide deck for just a second and I'll post the links. Let's see if I can do this effectively here. Boom. A couple of blogs that I wanted to share with you all. Number one, there was a great blog on Intune, providing key advantages for macOS management. There's nothing major that's new, I would say, in here. A lot of this is rehashing a lot of the updates that we have brought into the Intune product to manage your Mac devices. But I think it's very timely because I think a lot of renewals are up for other solutions. If you're using other solutions out there to manage Mac devices, you might be able to take a look at Intune and see if it meets your needs between improved app deployment workflows, between platform SSO, settings catalogs, new settings in settings catalog with DDM for Apple management, a new Apple enrollment profile that we talked about last week. All of that's kind of rehashed into this, and as well as the technical takeoff session. So just a good blog that you can review if you're looking to shift all of your Mac management over into Intune. Whoops. Another major update this past week was actually with Security Copilot, that we now have agents, because we're all the rage on agents right now inside of AI. And with Security Copilot, we now have a dedicated agent for Intune, essentially. And so we announced some key capabilities. If you are a Security Copilot customer, we've talked about enhanced device inventory coming out and how we can write custom KQL queries for real-time querying of devices, with advanced analytics at least. This will now help you write that code directly inside of the Intune console. So Copilot Assisted KQL queries is what we call. And then we are expanding hardware inventory across all platforms. So we had announced that expanded device inventory for Windows devices. That is coming for Apple and Android devices. And a little bit more on the advanced analytics that I already talked about. Anyway, this is just a great blog that talks about the improvements that we've brought to Intune Suite and to Security Copilot to help you be more efficient in your jobs. This next blog that I wanted to share with you, actually, really quick, there were two blogs on the Security Copilot agent. I'll throw both in the chat here in just a minute, but both of them are really highlighting the capabilities of that agent within Security Copilot. That is a cost, by the way, so education customers and enterprise customers have to purchase Security Copilot. So I don't like to spend too much time on it because there is an additional cost, but I would love if any of you are actually using Security Copilot in your environment. If you want to come on and talk about your experiences, we'd love to hear from you. Okay, moving on. This is a question that we often get, so I thought this blog was very appreciated. I don't know who Arnav is, if I'm pronouncing his name correctly. His profile picture makes him look young, but I'm like, man, I should buy you a beer. But this is a great blog talking about how to move server management from SCCM or Configuration Manager to Azure Arc across OS patching, reporting, scripting, different things like that. So if you are a customer who is looking to modernize your server management and you're asking yourself, hey, can Intune do this? No, Intune cannot do this. Intune is going to remain client and workstation management only, and Azure Arc is the preferred solution to manage your servers. And this is a great blog that shows you how to do it. Also, a couple of docs in here that I'm specifically referring to how to do that. But there's also a link right here called aka.ms/arc VM apps feedback. And the product team of Azure Arc is looking to you to get some feedback on how this is working for you in your environment to be able to push apps for servers via the Azure Gallery. So They are looking to hear from you. So if you have done this, or if you have some experience with this, or you're exploring this right now, definitely fill that out for them because they are looking to get your feedback. Moving on, a couple more blogs here. Getting started with quick machine recovery in Windows. This is a new feature that is coming out in Windows 11 24H2 insider builds. So it's in preview today, but only via the insider builds for the latest version of Windows 11. And this, I was talking about this with Richard yesterday, but I think this is really in response to the CrowdStrike incident. So being able to go in and recover machines from an inoperable state fairly quickly. And essentially, it's built into Windows RE, but it will actually refresh your devices back into a working version of Windows. And you can do this without necessarily re-imaging, but you manage it through Intune. So I think this is pretty important for us as IT admins to recognize that in order to take advantage of this feature, it has to be enabled. And so on Windows Home, it will be enabled, but on Pro, Enterprise, and Education editions, you, as the IT admins, will have to enable it via Intune or GPO. So there is now a remote remediation CSP that you need to be able to deploy and enable across the devices in your environment. But this will allow you to actually enable that feature. You can then boot directly into that recovery mode. But the cool part about it is that you can actually preserve the network connection. So if you have a Wi-Fi network, usually like an open Wi-Fi network, you can store that network connection, like the pre-shared key and everything, inside this recovery module as part of the policy. During that recovery, it'll actually connect to the internet and connect to Intune and get policies and apps and everything that it needs down. So it's still in preview. I have not tested this in my own lab yet. If any of you have tested this, I want to hear your experience around it. But again, I think this is in response to some of the issues that we've seen in the past, that you should be able to remediate against it quickly, but you will have to enable this. So I'll let you know if y'all are interested in like a deep dive around this new feature. Again, it's in preview today, so you can test it out. Maybe we can get something set up. Yeah, Richard, did I miss anything there?
Yeah, let's just clarify that this is really designed for scenarios where Microsoft is going to remediate something. It's not for you to remediate. It's not you deploying an Intune remediation script or anything like that. The remediations come from Windows Update. So if you dealt with a CrowdStrike situation and you were manually fixing machines, you know that there were some files that you had to modify to get around to the bad update that had been deployed by CrowdStrike. And so what we're doing here effectively is when you boot into Windows RE, it automates the connectivity back to Windows Update, and then Windows Update can deploy the payload to remediate whatever that problem is. So this isn't something that we expect people to have to use often, but it's kind of like a break glass situation where it's like, hey, we've got a major situation. We need to get a fix out. This is how we're planning on addressing it. Boot into Windows RE, connect to the internet, get to Windows Update, get the remediation payload laid down, and then hopefully fix whatever that problem is. So that's the intent.
Makes sense. Yeah. Good clarification. Okay. The couple last things. The last thing I'm going to talk about is, I think last week we talked about and joked about the remote desktop client for Windows end of support. And lo and behold, there was this blog published, and take a look as we scroll down. It just talks about the new Windows app and all the goodness and what we're solving for with the existing
Garrett, what about
remote
MSDRP?
app.
What about
Yeah,
MSDRP?
but look right there. Look
What's
right
happening?
there. What's not changing? Remote desktop connection and this TSC will remain a supported applications for remote desktops. So there it is in full color glory. You can still remote to your desktops. And I just wanted to call it out because it was funny. last week about this, that other people were getting comments too. So they had to go publish a whole blog with a screenshot, no less, that says it's not going away.
I just find it so hilarious that we create one blog post that says, oh, we're going to get rid of the store app. And then a week later, we say, oh, we're going to get rid of the other app, the MSI app. It's like, why couldn't we have just done this at the same time and then also posted, we're not getting rid of MSTSE? Just do it all at once instead of every week just kind of stream this all along. So strange. But anyway.
So funny. So funny. Okay.
There it is.
With all of that, if you did not catch the announcement in my email,
Steven, stop. Steven's posting questions in here about things we haven't talked about yet.
Hold on, Steven. Wait.
Hold on, Steven.
Pause. Okay, there was it was so, can I tell them the story yesterday? Like, we have our own team meetings. You guys? Yeah, like, we're talking about this. So, like, we're in our team meeting yesterday, and we're chatting about, you know, all the things that we do. And Richard starts going off, like Richard can do sometimes. And he has a little bit of insight. Like, Richard knows a little bit more than everyone else because he's like a ninja. So he's always got the inside scoop. And he's like, so there's going to be a blog post published. And then Scott's like, you mean this one? And he throws it in the chat. And Richard's like, oh, they already published it? I didn't give my approval.
I was like expecting this thing to come out like, I don't know, a few weeks from now. I thought they were still like working on stuff. Then all of a sudden it's like, bam, this thing goes out. Scott's like, this? Like, sure, what does it say?
Which is funny, even it's more funny because on Friday, Richard and I were talking just a one-on-one, and he was like, have you heard about X, Y, and Z that he's about to talk about? And I'm like, no, what is there to know? Like, this is so hot off the presses. But anyways, Richard, I'll let you kind of talk about this. And so if you want to share your screen or if you want me to scroll, just tell me.
No, you can just scroll. But this terribly titled blog post, like, totally buried the lead about what this, like, if you saw this blog post title, you'd be like, yeah, whatever. I'm not even gonna click on this thing because I'm education. I don't get Autopatch. Yeah, stop Microsoft. Stop posting these things that I can't have access to. So you wouldn't even click on this title. But if you scroll down through it, get through all the marketing stuff, just get on through that. This was probably written by
3/4 down.
Look at Copilot. There you go, right here. This is the thing that you want. Microsoft Windows Autopatch offers expanded features and capabilities for education and business premium, the thing that we've been looking for the last however many years.
I want to see some applause, people.
Yeah,
like,
this is
woohoo!
Who's
got the champagne?
This is taken like a Herculean effort to get this out there. So the first thing that we all decide to do while we're talking on the call yesterday is go to our tenants and see if it's turned on. So we go into our tenants and it's not there. And so I'm just like, okay. So the post is out. All the information is there. Eventually it's going to come. I've been told that by the end of the month is when we should see this completely rolled out. So because there's an option, and you probably have seen this a little while ago. This might be like 6 months ago or so. They had removed the auto patch option in your tenant. So like if you went to tenant administration, there's an auto patch section there. You could click into it and you could try to turn it on, but it'd tell you that you didn't have the appropriate licensing. And so at the time I was telling the guys that were managing this, I was like, well, if you don't have access to it, it doesn't make sense to actually show it because it just kind of teases someone that you can't really use this thing. So eventually they removed it from education tenants. So you couldn't see it. Well, now we kind of need it back so we can enable it because we do have access to it. So we're now waiting for them to re-enable the option for you to turn it back on. So hopefully by the end of the month we should see it then. I'm hoping sooner, but we'll wait till the end of April and see what's there by then. But yeah, so now we're good.
Really quick, I really like Scott's comment about this, and maybe this is what you were about to say, but Scott said, now that you all have it, please deploy it. And I agree with that, right? Because y'all have been very vocal about this feature, and we have worked hard. Everyone here has worked hard and given customer feedback to engineering to to get this enabled for y'all. Now it's up to you to actually use it. So
yeah, definitely. Anytime that we go to bat, there's a lot of political capital that we have to spend in trying to make this stuff a reality. And it takes a lot longer than you would expect, but as a company as large as ours, it's like trying to turn like an oil tanker in the ocean. It's so big that it takes a lot of people to make things move. And so doing all this work, it's taken a long time. We finally got it. And so, yes, as Scott mentioned, as Garrett mentioned, make sure that you're turning it on when it's available to you. Again, it's not there right now, hopefully by the end of the month, but start looking at it. And so this is what I was kind of hinting at earlier for the next meeting, probably the 29th. I think it might make a lot of sense to really kind of do a deep dive on Autopatch, how to turn it on, how to deploy, how to enable those kinds of things. So TBD on that, but it's here. And then the last thing that we had announced at the bottom of this, if you scroll just a little bit more, Garrett, Windows Update for Business has a new name. You might think, well, didn't it already have a new name? Because you guys just told us it was Windows Update for Business, then it went to Autopatch, and then you told us that we had Autopatch, but we didn't really have Autopatch. Well, now what we've decided to do is name Windows Update for Business, Windows Update Client Policies, and then we have Autopatch. So it's really not, it's just more of a naming weird marketing thing, but it doesn't really affect you all that much. Autopatch now is how we've rolled everything up from Windows Update for Business into that Autopatch service. So update rings, and now the automated capabilities of Autopatch, you'll have access to those. And all that stuff is pretty much just all rolled under the Autopatch brand now.
yeah, and I don't know if this is going to change the Windows Update for Business deployment service name or the Windows Update for Business reports. I don't think so, but we'll keep you posted if so.
Yeah, so lots of news.
Huge news.
Scott's got a poll. Can't have a big announcement without a poll.
It's true. Yes, you gotta gauge the room right now. 78% of you are like. No,
I'm also excited, Scott. So
85% of you are like, let's see what the current stats are.
I'm more interested in the two people who said no.
Yeah, there's like 3% of you that said
not interested in this.
We don't want
like, no, 27% kind of but about 70% of you are excited. So that's good. That's good. I can't see who answered what, so please be honest. But I think most of you are very excited about getting this feature. This is the one feature request that I know in conversations with many of you, I've gotten a lot, and I'm glad that you have it. And hopefully, if it'll also speed up Intune adoption, I'm all for it. And you can use this as co-managed and in co-managed scenarios as well. So, don't think it's just Intune only.
Yeah, definitely not. Scott, they're asking for a poll on the renaming of Windows Update for Business.
Yeah, I'll do that one too. How do y'all feel about that? I've already seen why do you rename stuff? That's a marketing decision, and I don't know what drives those questions.
This is where political capital comes in, and these are not things I want to spend my political capital on trying to influence the names of things.
Yeah,
I'd rather get you guys access to the thing. If it has a dumb name, then so be it, but at least you have access to it.
At least it's not named Copilot.
Not yet. You wait.
So
it'll be with agent in the name.
I have a question. At Cornell, I am known as a management dum-dum. And so we're 3,000 devices in rolling Windows Update for Business out to campus. We've got co-managed configuration manager with Intune, and we've been moving over our patching collections over time. And so this news, I was like, it makes me feel more uncertain than secure, because we've had the last 3 months of success with BIOS and driver updates and patching and a whole marketing campaign about Windows Update for Business, and now I'm like, oh, do I pull the handbrake on that or what? So is there some advice you would give to somebody about which lane are we switching lanes here, or?
Yeah, so we can dive in deeper to that on the meeting on the 29th, because I think this does create a bit of confusion, like you just mentioned, where a lot of folks are going to be using Windows Update for Business today, like with the update rings and all of that, this doesn't mean you have to change any of that work. You can manually create and do things as you're doing them now. Autopatch just makes it so that we kind of take that manual work that you've been doing for managing your update rings and the groups and all of that, and we handle that for you. And so if that's something that is of use to you, then take advantage of it. But if it's not, and you're happy with how you're currently managing things today, and you've got a plan and a process, and that's working for you, there isn't anything that's going to require you to deviate from that plan. You can still do that today.
Thanks. That is exactly at the right level for my understanding of things. Appreciate it.
All right, no problem.
Yeah, and the biggest benefit that you're going to be getting with Autopatch is things like you can manage updates in Edge. You can manage updates now with M365 apps for enterprise. There's some other reporting that's in there. There was also some default Autopatch groups that are in there, and I believe there's an SLA that it works to keep like 95% of all the devices under management up to date for you. So there's we used to have it broken down, obviously, in the documentation. You know what was included in A3, which is basically your Windows Update for Business patching, and then what was included in E series Windows licensing as well. So now all of that's you're basically getting all that stuff you didn't have access to now. So you can bring that stuff in over time. And for those of you that haven't moved to Windows Update for Business yet, or whatever the new name is, Windows Client Policies, whatever it is, now you have the full access, and now you can actually start deciding what features you want to use and which ones you want to implement later or not at all.
Well, thank you very much to this team for helping us get more value out of our products and services from Microsoft. So this is like terrific news, even though I was scared like 30 seconds ago. So thanks a lot.
Yeah, nothing scary about this. It's just added functionality, and if it helps, then use it. If not, then you don't need to. It's just there. It's there if you need it. There was a question about multi-session. I see in the chat here. Is multi-session supported with Autopatch? I don't know. I don't think so. I say that because for multi-session, in order to install Windows updates, you've got to do it slightly differently. You can't use update rings. You have to go through settings catalog. And we don't support all of the Windows Update policies with multi-session. This kind of gets into a deeper topic in terms of managing session hosts and updating them. There's different ways to do this outside of just installing Windows updates natively. Some folks will automate the session host configurations. There's actually a session host update, session host config that you can deploy to handle the overall update and maintenance of the session hosts. So yeah, let me look to see if there is anything wrong with it. I'm pretty sure that we don't support it, but I just have to double check on that.
Oh, one big change for multi-session we did announce this past week was remote help support now supports multi-session.
Yep.
So with Intune, so now you can use that with it.
Let's see. Any other questions? Go ahead, Aaron.
So my question specifically for trying to get on-prem or Entra-join devices to access on-prem resources like network shares. So I've been kind of knee-deep into the cloud Kerberos Trust deployment possibilities for our environment. And I've got a working proof of concept, and for normal accounts, no issues, works just as intended. But for privileged accounts, it works until you either reboot or switch networks that take you off the company network. and then you have to delete your Windows Hello container, recreate it again. And I was wondering, just out of curiosity, if there was a specific reason why privileged accounts don't work with Cloud Kerberos Trust.
I'm not aware of a specific reason to it. I haven't personally dug into it. I don't know if anyone else here on the call is running into the same thing, or if they've done anything to work around it. Don't see anyone in the chat saying anything. But yeah, I'm not sure on the privileged accounts. Have you looked at docs, and do we call anything out there?
I mean, other than the fact that in the documentation it just says that privileged accounts aren't supported. We just have some. We have a few users, particularly admin, that have some specific permissions, and to give them that convenience of being able to access a network share until we transition it to SharePoint. Because we're requiring Windows Hello for phishing resistant MFA, and we're just wanting to, see if there's a particular reason, if there's a way we could either work around it, or I mean, we can say sorry, it's not going to work. You just have to sign in with your password.
Yeah. I mean, there's probably, I mean, there's definitely a reason we document why it's not, or we document it's not supported for a reason. I don't know what that reason is. We can ask around and see if anyone's willing to tell us, and then we can get back to you on that. But yeah, for the time being, I would say that, if we say it's not supported, then I wouldn't expect any sort of support to come anytime soon. So unfortunately, that's all I got.
That's all right. Thank you.
Yep.
So Matthew's got a question. Any more updates for FFU?
Still working on the UI. That's basically what I'm focused on right now, is just getting the UI done. I got all the application work done, so that's good. Now I'm working on drivers. There's been a lot of questions on better driver management, compressing drivers. I know a lot of people end up with dozens of models, and they say that takes up all the space on the USB drive. So working on some better methods to handle compression and stuff like that. So there'll be an update out, but nothing really anytime soon. But just still working on some stuff.
You should have a Surface flash drive, a Dell flash drive, a Lenovo flash drive. I'm kidding.
Yeah. And then it's for every single model that you have too. So you have 50 USB sticks.
Yeah, look at this feedback from Aaron though. FFU is amazing. I just solved some issues with Richard's help that, according to my napkin math, saved our district $40,000 per 500 machines. That is amazing. Thanks for sharing, Aaron.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Let's see. Tom has, I think, a question. I'm also trying to get custom compliance scripts running, but it appears I might need some permissions that are not clear in the security pane.
Yeah, we've the security pane right now. Currently, I don't have any permissions, but the when you do compliance on the normal side, you can see the ability to do the custom PowerShell compliance scripts on the Windows side, but they're gray. You can't add them in, and you have to add them on the security side. And it looks like I can add, but I get to a point and I try to save and I can't. I've looked through the permissions in security pane because they're reluctant to give me everything in it. But I've not seen anything that looks like it's it. So I was hopeful that, somebody knows what are the minimum permissions that I need to be able to at least create those PowerShell scripts. The other thing we noticed that was interesting is you create these scripts, right? And they, you line them up. They're not actually in a compliance policy. You actually, pull them into the compliance policy. It kind of seems like in the little playing we have done with accounts that have privilege, that you can only put one script in the script can only be used once in a compliance policy. So I don't know. The interface was a little bit odd. We're trying to do the prohibited technology stuff for the state of Texas, and we want to have compliance scripts that'll detect the prohibited technologies and mark the machines out of compliance in case our automations for removal and those kind of things aren't working. So any assistance on that would be appreciated.
I haven't done too many custom compliance scripts, but if anyone else has done that, feel free to come off mute for a second and respond to Tom.
Yeah, I haven't done much with them either, but so Tom, it should just be like a key value pair, right? That we're trying to track something local on the device. I kind of missed what you were saying. I was chatting with some of the folks in the chat here.
Yeah, that's fine. The problem I have is I can't create them. So I don't need help writing the scripts. We actually have some pretty cool scripts that are running. Our problem is that, we have a set permission for, we're distributed, support basically.
Right,
I'm piloting it for our group. And so I'm trying to get the permission set so that the admins in the college can, perform those actions. And, currently, it looks like if we want to have multiple compliance scripts, everybody's going to have to make their own script because they can't be reused. First, we were hopeful that someone with a higher privilege could create the script and then everybody could add compliance policies off of it, or however we wanted to do it. But right now, it looks like if you want to use compliance scripts at all, you need to make one per compliance policy, and then which really begs the question of you need to be able to make your own.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah, I don't think others on here would be able to really solve it. I think it's more of an us problem rather than a you problem.
Yeah, if you look at the permissions on the security pane, they're just not, there's nothing in there that looks like it would be, it would be part of, right? So far I haven't got them to go through with me and just turn everyone on one at a time and have me test. But if I could tell them which one to turn on, that would be an easier call. But I think I may get to that point where they just sit with me for an hour and turn on permissions, let me test.
Got it. Okay. I think
there are documents for custom roles in Intune and RBAC, and there may be something that fits. But if you're not an Intune administrator or a global administrator for your tenant, Tom, you're going to have to work with somebody and try to leverage them to do that. So it sounds like you're distributed and you have a set of roles that you are. And I don't know if you guys also are using scope tags to segregate and delegate out. Then you get into that as well. And that can be quite squirrely.
That is definitely true.
That's like opening up a can of worms sometimes.
But it's
they do. Go ahead.
Yeah. You just you got to put the worms in the row, but you got to know their proper order. And a lot of times, I'm a senior system engineer. I'm global administrator, Intune administrator. People come to me and ask me, why is this not working? And then I got to go deep dive down in, we're co-managed. If you shifted, because we haven't shifted everything over for workloads, we're doing pilots. So is your device in this pilot? And what's the device collection called? And then are we doing a sync to the cloud, creating a group? And then is that group in a scope, the right scope tag? So it gets very
a lot of moving parts for sure. Yeah, any assistance on permissions that would be appreciated.
There's documents out there. Don't know which one it is, but there is a documentation.
Yeah, I looked the documentation on Microsoft's is, and I even got someone to come in and you hover over the little eye on each one and read the little blurbs they have. But nothing. The compliance piece with the custom scripts is sort of in its own little, I don't know, corner. It's not clearly in any of the buckets.
It may not be able to be R-backed. I've ran into that. We had an engagement with the Microsoft person, and he said not all the roles in Intune are able to be R-backed.
You
can't say.
This is something that would have to be investigated. Like, just off the top of my head, I can't tell you what the actual permission would be for that. So yeah, it would just have to be something that have to be looked at to see exactly what they are.
Okay, let's see. We've got Sundiata's hand up. So Sundiata, feel free to come off mute, and then we'll jump to Keen's question in the chat. Am I saying that right,
Yeah.
Sundiata?
So I think I may have just got an answer to the question. So I figured maybe I have to do some more reading up on FFU because I guess I misunderstood how it worked. I thought it was actually locked down for a physical model. But I think I just came across I assume this is your GitHub page, Richard. So it looks like I see an image of a VM. So do you have a something custom where you actually reach out for drivers or to get drivers for a different model? That's what kind of caught my ear is that you just mentioned that you can actually do multiple models, because I didn't think that's how FFU worked. I thought when I read up on it, it said it was sector based.
It is.
So that's the reason why I never actually looked into it. Because I actually we use SCCM and Intune, so I never even looked into it when I read it was sector based. So I figured maybe I misunderstood, or this. So you guys have it customized somehow?
Yeah, so it's a little confusing because you're right, it is sector based, but that's kind of where the benefits come from. Because it is sector based, it's so much faster to deploy an FFU file. But the challenge is that with an FFU, you're capturing a physical disk. So if you go back to Ghost, like go back to the old days when we used to use Ghost to deploy before SMS and MDT and BDD and all those things. That was a sector-based tool to copy one disk, and then you would lay it down onto a very basically the same model. And so with FFUs, they were designed really for device hardware manufacturers to quickly image laptops that are on the manufacturing line to get them ready for customers. But you can build an FFU just out of a virtual machine. So if you're doing it out of a virtual machine, it's hardware agnostic. And then you can service an FFU just like a WIM file. So if I could mount it with DISM, then I can add drivers to it. And so that's exactly what we do. We create a virtual machine, or rather we create a VHDX. And then if you want to create a VM, you can. We add all of your applications. We add whatever you want. You can run whatever scripts, automate the thing, however you need. Add any applications you want. It's got WinGet support, so it downloads applications directly from WinGet and builds the virtual machine. It'll sysprep it, then it'll add your drivers. If you have drivers you want to add directly to the FFU, you can. If you have multiple models, then you can pick which drivers you want, and it'll add them during deployment time. So there's just a lot of different things that you can do to customize the entire deployment, and it's completely hardware agnostic. It's not like we're capturing just a specific machine and then deploying that machine to something else. It's totally agnostic.
Okay, well, this looks great. I think I'm actually going to look into this. Yeah, when I saw FFU, I figured this is probably on the lines. This will be better for K through 12 instead of on the higher ed side. So we have so many different departments. I didn't even look into it, but this actually looks like a really good idea now.
Yeah, I just had someone from the Army reach out to me yesterday about using this for air-gapped networks, where they can't use. Well, because things like MDT are going away. We don't have MDT anymore after Windows 11. There's no support for it. VB script's going out, and so they're looking for a solution. And so someone just pinged me yesterday and said, "Hey, we're looking for this solution here." So whether it's K-12 higher ed, I've got there are people all over the world that are using this thing, even outside of education. So it does fit some needs, but it's not. It's not perfect for everyone. Oftentimes people want, hey, like I want to be able to, Pixie boot and do that. It's not really designed for that. I know some people have integrated the FFUs that they've built into SCCM. They're using SCCM boot media to boot, and then they deploy the FFU directly from their SCCM task sequence. So there's people that use the tool in all sorts of different ways, and that's the beauty of it being open source. People can do whatever they want with it. The source is free. You can modify the scripts as you need. So
awesome. Let's jump to Keen's question. In Intune, Windows Update for Business, previously Windows Update for Business, now Windows Update client policies. What is the functional difference, if any, between turning on drivers in the regular patching ring, so your update ring, versus not turning on drivers in the regular patching ring and using a separate driver deployment that is set to auto approve. So in your update ring, you have the ability to check apply Microsoft updates or drivers as well. And then we also have a separate drivers and firmware feature where you can go and create model specific driver deployments that auto approve those two.
Yeah, so one's coming directly from, well, they're both coming from Windows Update.
That's right.
But one is auto approved. So, well, I say auto approved. From the update ring itself, you end up with whatever Microsoft has approved for your device hardware. All those drivers are going to install. If you're okay with that and you'd have no problems with it, then by all means keep doing it. But if you want to control your Windows updates and how drivers come, then you could do that through the driver piece that we have within that other tab. But if you're auto approving everything, then it's probably going to be, I would expect that it would probably be the same, where you would get the same drivers in both scenarios. I haven't personally tested to see if it is actually exactly the same or not, but my expectation would be is that if you're auto approving everything, then it really shouldn't be fundamentally different, whether you're just allowing all drivers to install through the update ring natively, or if you're using the other method within the drivers tab. But that's really designed more so for you to select which drivers you want to approve.
Yeah.
So in some cases, what we find are you might get a bad driver that gets deployed through Windows Update. Could be a bad wireless driver or something like that. Or maybe you have a video driver that is undoubtedly going to be way newer if you got it directly from your vendor rather than coming from Windows Update. And so in those situations, you may say, hey, look, we don't want those drivers, but maybe we're okay with like chipset drivers. Maybe we're okay with audio drivers. Like you'll pick and choose which ones you want rather than just auto approving everything through that method. If that's what you're going to do, you may as well just auto approve, just turn on the apply drivers checkbox within the update ring.
Yeah, I like Joseph's comment that you have the ability to pause a driver that causes an issue or approve an optional driver without pausing the entire update ring. So
Yeah.
It does give you a layer of control, but essentially they're doing the same thing. And we had a whole session with David Geyer, who created this feature. It was a couple of years ago at this point, so Mike could use a refresher. It hasn't changed all that much, but one of his comments was how impressed the product development team was with the OEMs getting their drivers published to Windows Update so quickly. And I've seen this with my own customers where, you've got the vendor specific tool that gets the catalog of drivers from their own source versus Windows Update. And they're pretty much at parity upon release. I think we've done a lot of great work working with the OEMs to give them a channel to get those drivers up there pretty quick. It's not perfect, but for most of the machines that our customers are deploying out there, including Surface, it's been a good experience.
Yeah, great points in the chat on driver reports and the pausing. Those are definite benefits that doing that too.
Yeah, the from KeenWorks, I happen to be Keen's management dum-dum, and so one of the things that we are exploring as we're rolling this out to Cornell is it's like the audio and video driver and webcam driver updates that are usually like the most disruptive. The rest of the stuff kind of glides on by, but people will notice even silently as it's like, installing or prepping before reboot that like stuff starts to move and shake and the end users are like not thrilled. So when we're evaluating the idea of like, okay, well, what if we could, we're really ideally trying to lean into full automatic deployment of this stuff, but we've only kind of caught 50 devices that so far have not been as happy, and kind of using like maybe there's this in the middle area that where it's like all this other stuff except for those, and then like we'll figure out how to QA those on test devices that are representative. So that helps. And one of the questions I think for the community here too especially if you're sort of a CM and Intune shop, but also for the experts is we're getting asked like, is there any way to like track driver history? So where and I looked into like MOF files that we could put in the CM, and then we're like thinking about like how much data do we really want in the CM database? Because what they're trying to troubleshoot now, and we made basically a no drivers ring for them to put some of these devices that have run into a recent Dell model, the 74 and 7650s have something that they're like, we can't really tell if this is Windows Update for Business or Dell, or they don't have Command Update installed on it. So they're like, where can I see in all these management tools where it's saying it was this one before and now it's this one, and what happened? And we're like, oh, we don't have a great answer for that in a way that you can like right click on Resource Explorer and look into these things. So I'm wondering, is anybody trying to do, besides like managing, because that's like the other side, it's like besides managing the releases of drivers, then it's like, well, let them automatically happen, but like look after the fact. And maybe that's just it. Maybe it's we got to do it the control way. But I'm interested, is anybody like trying to track drivers history, I guess?
I think you're way ahead of some of us.
Yeah, or I've gone into the Twilight Zone or the Bermuda Triangle, and so we could be there. But we got almost 20,000 Windows endpoints, and we're making our way through. We've got really strong partners in the colleges that have been like looking at this with us, and so with for our security policy, the audit office and the security office has deemed these updates as software updates the way that you consider regular operating system patching or third-party patching. And so now there's sort of this new work that is all foisted upon us of like interact with end users, having drivers make their lives difficult. And that sort of like futzes with the Windows Update for Business is amazing. It's so good, set it and forget it. But so I won't blame you guys on it. It's just like a reality of trying to like make everyone feel comfortable and understand what's at play with this stuff.
Yeah, I think driver management's always been somewhat of a challenge. I mean, even going back to just OSD, where people would, upload a driver pack and then just have it auto apply drivers. But inside of OSD, you might have a bunch of different models, and using plug and play matching, you may not get the latest drivers, or you don't really have a whole lot of control over that. So then people start moving over to creating driver packages, and using WMI queries, they'll leverage that to make sure that the exact driver package for that model is deployed directly to the device. So you have more control over that method. But then when you get out of that world and you get into the autopilot world now, where you lose kind of a lot of that control. Like you don't have the same semblance of control over the drivers that are coming down to your devices. And so that's partly where we came up with the driver functionality you see today with an Intune. It's not perfect. It's better than what it was originally, because originally you really had zero control and just anything that came down. So it was either all or nothing. You either apply all drivers or you didn't apply anything at all. So in terms of keeping track of like the history of your drivers, in Config Manager, you have through Resource Explorer, like you mentioned, you've got the history of hardware inventory, so you can keep track of that. But on the Intune side of things, there's really no way of doing that. There's just no control. There's just even no data that says, okay, you had this driver, now you have this one, and there's really just no way of monitoring that. So if that is really something that is necessary today, then you're probably going to need to store that information or keep storing that information on the Config Manager side, and then cross-referencing it as necessary if you do run into potential driver issues.
You should have the Windows Update in Event Viewer for like when Windows Update is actually installing the driver. It should appear there as a regular Windows Update, like when it says like starting Windows Update, installing, KB whatever. It should appear in there as well. So at least there's something you can at least look at Event Manager, but it's hard to do that on a scale without pumping it all to a sim.
Yeah, well, thanks, Dan. That's a good pro tip on that. As we're working with our desktop support org, and they're like, we just can't see it, and so we started we kind of get started from the inside out instead of the outside in, and so
What you-
that's a good way.
What I just thought of is what you could do is do a PowerShell script to pull those events from Event Viewer in like a remediation and like return it somewhere on this. So that might be a way to do it with PowerShell and Event Viewer.
Cool. Yeah,
You
we
won't be
also
able to know
raised this.
what you had though. That's the trick. There is like you'd see what it went to, but you wouldn't know what it was.
Yeah, and that's definitely that's part of the other operational question. But yeah, and I won't dominate driver issues and Windows Update issues here. But with the link that James Barnes posted, we did escalate this through our Dell TAM because like usually too, there's some finger pointing. We have pro support on some of these devices about like, well, it's a Dell driver through a Microsoft delivery system that is actually an Intel product, and it's like, well, you guys ain't helping me at all with all of that kind of cover that you just spread, but. Thanks for the input and sharing the ideas on how to approach this.
I don't have anything incredible to add to the topic, except that we're wrestling with the same. From a Lenovo perspective, because we've got Lenovo Commercial Vantage, we're concerned about a battle between Commercial Vantage and let's just say Microsoft updates. And I'm also now thinking about like how that changes or gets more complicated or better with Autopatch. But, you know, just to say, yes, we wrestle with this too.
Well, thank you, Leonard, for the emotional support. I appreciate it.
I'm with you.
All right. Well, we are at time. So thanks everyone for joining today. It's been a great, lively discussion. So we always appreciate everyone coming on camera, talking, sharing stories, and not having to just listen to us all the time. So it's good to see to see all the engagement. So look forward to talking to everyone next time. I don't know, Garrett, do you have anything you want to say, or Scott, before we wrap up?
Nope, I'm good.
All right. Well, thanks a lot,
Thanks,
guys. Enjoy the rest of your week. Happy April Fool's Day, and we will see you on tax day. So enjoy it.
For office deployment. All right.
How about office deployment on tax day? All right, guys. Take care.
Woo.
Thanks.
Thank you. All right. Thanks,
Bye.
guys.